Every Saturday morning, people flock to the farmer's market to buy fruits and vegetables. But this Saturday, they got something else, a lesson in art. It has happened in Colorado, it's happened in California, it's happened all over the US. But a good question to ask students is, what if it happened here? Here at the Shameless Chocoholic, one of the best-selling items is their caramel choco chip. They take a regular potato chip, throw some caramel on it, wait for it to harden, and then dunk it in milk chocolate. Throwing it on the conveyor belt and letting it dry. It is the largest used bookstore between Omaha, Nebraska and Chicago, Illinois.
You had a lot of people that care about you and still care about you, and your life did matter.
Travis DeVrent's life did matter, but in a moment he lost sight of that, taking his own life on March 18th, 2014 at just 25 years old.
When it happened, it was a complete shock because he had his whole life ahead of him.
Getch was someone very close to Travis. After watching him grow up from 8 years old until he passed, he was like a little brother to her.
Pretty good chunk of time watching them become from a child to a teenager to a grown adult. You go through a lot of stages of their life with them.
Stages that were cut short. Hayway says Travis was close with a lot of people. He was a good friend with a great personality.
The thing I remember about him the most was his laugh. It was like nobody else's. You knew it was him when you walked in.
I don't know, I'd be really scared. I don't know what I would do.
I would try not to freak out.
Lock the door of the room I'm in and go hide away from windows and the doorway.
Fear is real.
Director of Security Robert Christopher says the hard thing about a shooter on campus is that it is simply unpredictable.
This is a horrible situation. Any campus, anywhere that this suffered, because we can't predict it like we could a fire, people are going to be injured or killed.
Though these situations are often difficult to prevent, it is always best to be prepared.
Education is the key.
Christopher says one of the first things students can do right now is sign up for campus alerts.
Because it's the quickest way for us to get word out to people.
However, campus alerts only go so far. Students must be able to personally assess their situations. Christopher tells us how.
If you know where the danger is, evacuate.
But sometimes evacuation isn't always an option. And if it's not, Christopher says to ask yourself this.
Can I secure myself where I am?
Most of the time, a shooter will move on if they find that a room is hard to get into or is empty.
So I want to take advantage of that.
But only when you are able to. Christopher says if running and hiding are not feasible, you have one more option.
Thoughts is, if I can't escape, if they are coming in the room, am I willing to defend myself?
Christopher says to look for any object that can be used to startle the intruder or hurt them.
There's more than one of us in a room. We're going to attack in a group.
These intrusions usually only last 2 to 4 minutes, yet many students, like junior Storm Boggs, might not know what to do in that small time frame.
So I'm not really sure what I would do.
Christopher admits these tips are not something that has been widely distributed to students.
Been focusing really initially a lot on the faculty and staff.
But he is looking to fix this.
It doesn't mean we have any intention to leave the students out. You're going to see more material coming out when you come back in January that's going to have a broader campus setting.
This feels the way a bookstore should feel.
For Phyllis Kimball and Jeff Conan, this atmosphere is built on old books.
When I want to sit down and get cozy in a chair and read a good book, I want to be able to feel it and smell it and turn the pages. And
it's the tangibility that is most appealing to them.
My choice would be always to have a real book.
And for them, the source is where they can find exactly that.
Well, you just find lots of books that aren't accessible anymore. Once they're out of print, it can get pretty tough to find a book.
Store manager Cheryl Rowley says that is their specialty.
We stock used, rare, and out of print.
The store holds over 200,000 books, along with records, VHS tapes, and DVDs.
You have to broaden out a little bit.
However, Rowley says what customers love is that the essence of the store has always stayed the same.
That even though 5 years ago the front of the store changed, the inside still smells and looks the same.
And for these customers, Rowley says it is so much more than just a bookstore.
You know, it's a family thing. If you get started here, you like to, in 30 years, I've seen a lot of people grow up, but they will like to come back.
And even though she says she won't be around one day, she hopes the store and its message stick around.
You can find anything in here for knowledge, so the source of knowledge.
And a source of adventure.
Whether it's biographies to learn about people or whether it's science fiction to take you away and into another dimension. They're just missing out on a lot of different history and worlds that are out there.
Feel free to try the raspberries.
These are the sounds of a typical day at the farmer's market. Veggies being chopped, purchases being made, and chatter all around. But on this particular day, there was something more.
You guys gonna do a free tote? Sweet.
The sound of screen printing, an art that Associate Professor Joseph Lappy wanted to share with the community.
There's certainly a focus of making people more aware of how strong our art program is at Ambrose.
When I first walked in, it's like you smell delicious chocolate. As soon as you walk in, it like gets you craving for it.
Haley Lancaster is visiting her grandma and friends from southern Iowa.
They talk about this place all the time.
So of course, Lancaster wanted to tag along.
That's where they get a lot of their chocolate, if not all of it. And so I said, well, take me with too.
And she was not disappointed.
I think I'm in the Willy Wonka movie.
Co-owner Rebecca Burns feeds on this type of customer joy.
I enjoy making people happy.
And she's done just that these past 2 years with her business partner, Jennifer Williams, by her side.
We think so much alike, it's not even funny. Kind of scare each other sometimes.
The two started off as morning workout buddies until one day, the gym was closed.
Jokingly, we were like, what are we going to do with our mornings? And she's like, you know, I've been working on getting my candy shop up and running. I'm like, that sounds so fun. And she goes, well, you should do it with me. I'm like, okay.
I'm like, if you're serious, let's do it.
That chat took place in July of 2013, and by October 2013, they were up and open for business.
It was pretty exciting.
From there, they have gone on to create more than 80 different types of chocolate.
Here at the Shameless Chocoholic, one of the best-selling items is their caramel choco chip. They take a regular potato chip, throw some caramel on it, wait for it to harden, and then dunk it in milk chocolate. Throwing it on the conveyor belt and letting it dry.
Oh my gosh, I think everyone has to try those.
Creating these delicious treats is one of Burns' favorite parts of her job.
Oh, the creating, coming up with the new flavors, and then when I do create them, watching people eat them, because that's like the funnest part, is the expressions on people's face when they actually try something for the first time and they're like, their eyes roll back in their head and they're like, oh my God, that is fabulous. That's my favorite part.
This wasn't the first time Burns had experienced this kind of reaction to her candy, though.
August of 2001, it was called the Old Fashioned Candy Company, and I started it in my house.
That business grew into 3 different shops, one in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and the other 2 back home in LeClaire.
We were open until 2008 when the economy kind of took its toll.
That was the beginning of the end.
I had to make some really hard decisions, and unfortunately letting the shop go was one of those decisions I had to make.
But she missed it, and so did her loyal customers, who made comments like,
please open again, you've got to open again, we miss you, we miss your products.
This faithfulness to her and her labor of love is something that Burns says blows her mind.
I know I had a great customer base before, but people still from 5 years, 6, 7 years ago are coming in and going, you know, there used to be this really great little candy shop in LeClaire. I'm sure your candy's really good, but it's never going to be as good as theirs. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's me.
Since they have reopened, business has been nonstop.
It's been crazy. We see about quadruple the business that I saw in 2008.
And she wouldn't have it any other way.
The power of chocolate can change your mood. It can bring such joy to people.
And who wouldn't want that? Haley Gibbs, Dateline SAU.